something is wrong, really wrong. What is wrong is how money works in our world. While a few people live in mansions, others are barely scraping by. This is called wealth inequality, and it's real. I wanted to understand why, so I looked back, way back, into this ancient Greek philosopher called Plato. What happens if ancient Greek philosophy could be the way into solving our modern day wealth inequality problem? When we usually talk about wealth inequality, like how billionaires exist while people struggle to afford to pay food, we usually talk about politics, taxes, and wages. But underneath all of that is something deeper, way deeper. How we think about justice, power, and leadership, that way of thinking, it didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of philosophy, ancient Greek philosophy. Ancient Greek started with one simple idea: question everything. Socrates would walk through Athens asking people, what is justice? What is the good life? He didn't give answers, he made people think. His student, Plato, started writing down these conversations. Plato believed that the world we live in is such as distractions, power, wealth, and appearances. But true justice comes from reason, and what he's doing is right. Then came Aristotle, who wanted to make philosophy practical. He studied ethics, politics, and economics, and argued that the purpose of life is to flourish together in a society. Some of the ancient ideas from ancient Greece didn't stay in ancient Greece. They shaped Western government. Plato's ideas influenced how people thought about law and justice. Aristotle's writing helped design what we now call democracy and citizenship. Socrates, he gave us the foundation for free speech and protest, asking questions, holding power, and being accountable. We build our modern system of courts, voting, and even school debates off of these old Greek ideas. At our world, the top 1% of the people own more wealth than the entire middle class. A lot of our leaders are chosen because they're rich, not because they are trained to lead or even care about fairness. Wealth inequality affects so much of their daily lives today, such as education, housing, healthcare, and everything. Plato would call this injustice. Why? People aren't being given what they need to succeed, and these power are not always the people most qualified to lead. They're just given to the ones with the most amount of money. You don't see some homeless guy that's super wise becoming the next president. No, Plato will call this a broken system. These ideas weren't just interesting thoughts. They shaped how future civilizations were built. Plato's belief that the city should be ruled by a philosopher kings. These saw how the definition of leadership. In the Republic, Plato argues that justice happens when each person plays the role they're best suited for. And when people are in charge that aren't motivated by money or power, they strive for common good and wisdom. This idea is huge because it introduced the idea that leadership isn't just about who's the richest or the strongest. It's about who's the most ethical, and that idea is very important to this day. Now this is where you can apply this to our modern day problems. We don't look at billionaires and go, cool, they're rich. We ask, is that fair? Is that just? Why is one person hoarding all the wealth while there's thousands of homeless people? That's the mindset. That is what asked to be fair from ancient Greek philosophy. Plato said that the rulers should be guided by reason, not greed. Aristotle warned that massive wealth gaps could destroy society from within. So when we raise questions about wages, tax policies, or who controls the economy, we're using their playbook. If we actually paid attention to those ideas again, we might have a better way to fight back against the modern day wealth inequality. A real life example of how ancient Greece can help with our modern day wealth inequality is ancient Athens. A real historical example of this would be back in 5th century BCE. The city Athens struck silver at the mines of Lauren. They suddenly had a ton of wealth. What would they do with this? The government didn't hoard it, and instead of that money handed out to the rich, a military leader, Themistocles, convinced Athens to use it to build a massive navy. Why? Because the navy could protect the whole city. The money was used for the greater good. This money could help trade, democracy, jobs, and everybody benefited. This choice reflected the ideas of Plato and Aristotle, who believed in that wealth should not only serve the public good, but also bring everybody up. The money should not be there to help pay for the elites. Well, some people would say, bro, that's 2,000 years ago. Why does this even matter to me? And yeah, they weren't perfect. Plato excluded women, Aristotle defended slavery, but there's a lot that we wouldn't accept today. The core ideas, justice, fairness, and questioning power still matter very much this day. We didn't copy everything they did. We took the best of what they did and build on top of it. This is how change works. Here is where it gets interesting. Ancient philosophy did change the world. The idea that leadership should serve the people, that came from philosophy. The idea that we should question authority came from Socrates. The idea that we should debate what justice means, Aristotle. Without these ideas, we wouldn't probably have democracy or free speech or free press, or the belief that governments should answer to the people. Ancient philosophers literally helped and gave us the tools we need to fight our modern day problems. So, yeah, when it comes to protest about income equality, fight for fair wages, or question why only a handful of billionaires control everything, we're not just being modern. We're continuing a conversation that started over 2,000 years ago. Ancient Greek philosophy changed how we think about justice. It gave us the tools to fight unfair systems, and even now, in the middle of some of the biggest modern day economic problems, it's still helping us ask the right questions. This is not ancient history that is redundant. This is real life.